this idea of just-in-time cleaning, and I think we talked about this a little bit before when we did our intro call, and this idea of I suppose kind of borrowed from the manufacturing industry, where there's not warehouses full of things. It's like when something is ordered, it's made, and then it's shipped out. And this idea of, is there a way to take that idea and apply it in the cleaning space? And is there a tool, like Breezeway or something else, that kind of helps facilitate that a little bit? And as I'm asking the question, I'm thinking about, well, it's a lot easier to make a thing than it is to just have somebody on standby who may or may not know that they're working, like literally that day. But is there a way to kind of bring those two methodologies together?
I think we see a lot of that, and that's part of what we help some of our clients do as well. I think it's becoming more popular, maybe typically out of necessity. It's typically just-in-time cleaning happens with our clients out of necessity when they're just slammed with a busy turnover, and there's only time. So what they'll do is they'll switch from a checkout clean and inspection and like room prep to just an inspection, just a quick run through, make sure everything's okay, there's not room damage, they can close the folio or the reservation quickly and be done, and then leave it alone and delay the cleaning until the next day, so they can get through all the back-to-backs, all the check-ins and check-outs, and make sure that those rooms are ready. And then they'll circle back. If there's time, they'll circle back same day. If not, they'll just leave them and wait until the next day to get a little higher utilization out of staff and make sure that, I think we did talk about this in our prep. I showed up for a conference in Minneapolis and check-in at 4. Room wasn't ready until 7:30, which is really late, really, really late. And I appreciate they're very busy, but that's very difficult. But I think, there's you look at the news and you look at what's happening with labor shortages and what we can continue to expect. I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes a little more typical.
Yeah. There's something that came out a few years back, and I think it was Marriott that brought it up. It was the 24-hour room access. So rather than just saying, in at 3 or 4 and out at 11 or noon, those are the windows, you had access to the room for 24 hours. So you tell us when you're going to be here, and we'll make sure that your room is available. So if everybody knew that you were arriving at 8 o'clock at night, well, you didn't actually. You arrived early and it wasn't ready. But if there was a way to set up your house where you could get realistic arrival times, and then you sort of plan to have those rooms ready maybe an hour beforehand in case people arrive early, maybe that is a different way of thinking about it rather than having this cutoff time. Because what happens in the hotel space is all the housekeepers are off at 4 o'clock or 4:30. So that's one of the reasons why that's the check-in time, is because everybody that's when the shift is over. And sure, you might have a couple of PM housekeepers doing straggly rooms here and there. But that's what leads into this whole issue of there's so many things that come up in the day. Do not disturbs, rooms it takes 2 hours to clean a room because it was destroyed, or somebody smokes in a room and it has to go out of service, or there's just these things that pop up.
I also think that, it's super interesting. We're at the very beginning we would not be having these conversations 6 years ago for sure around convergence of hospitality inventory between vacation rentals, alternative accommodations, and hotels. It was like they were two completely separate beasts who, there was no crossover. But more and more, we're just at the beginning of that convergence of ways that I believe both types of supply are going to change, and in really interesting ways. That 24-hour stay is super interesting.